Well, here it is. The book is called Made in America, and right up top it says Chris Chelios is the greatest American player of all time. That's high praise from Red Wings head coach Mike Babcock. Thanks for being here.
Yep, thank you.
First of all, man, it's really an obviously riveting story. When you play professional hockey for more than a quarter century, plus what it took to get there, it tells a great story. If there's a summary of your life, and we'll get into some of the details of the book, but how would you summarize your life and what you accomplished?
It wasn't normal, that's for sure. You know, raised by my parents, both born in Greece, so you don't think they're going to let you play hockey. You're going to work in the restaurant, which was, when I wasn't playing hockey, that's mostly what I was doing. But, you know, everything that possibly I could do not to play hockey, that's when we moved to California. You know, I was out of hockey, and but for sure I was born, you know, to play hockey, because I ended up where I did, and, you know, things worked out, you know, unbelievably, not so much, you know, from an individual standpoint, from winning in championship teams. So, like I said, for me, it's hard to believe, to be honest with you.
You had the privilege of getting to play for 3 original 6 teams.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys can say anything like that. There are a lot of things you did that not a lot of guys could say. But let's just take it chronologically. You know, you grow up and you're about to go play for the Canadians, but even before you do that, you suit up for the United States and you go to Sarajevo and play in the Olympics. Was that, what kind of eye-opening experience was that for you?
I think the most memorable moment, you know, I'd put on the USA jersey when I was a 19-year-old, but not to that magnitude. And then to go to Sarajevo, and it was the only Olympics we actually were allowed to participate in the opening ceremonies, because then there weren't professionals. So, you know, just walking around and seeing the city and the village, and it was about to, you know, blow up there. But like I said, that walk with all the other athletes, and, you know, realizing, hey, I'm one of 21, 22 guys that was chosen to represent my country. So I took nothing for granted. I knew how lucky I was.
You know, of all the pressure you faced over the course of your career, what was the pressure of being on that 84 team, following up on what the 80 team had done?
It was a tough act to follow, for sure. I think the only thing that really helped me a lot was being traded at the same time well, I'm getting confused here. The only pressure I felt more than that was when I got traded to Detroit in that dressing room, and it could have been an absolute disaster. But like you mentioned, the 80 team, they paved the way for guys like myself, Roenick, Kachuk, Modano, that era of players. And we were treated like kings. The 60 exhibition games we played prior to the Olympics, we were in the best hotels. You know, they gave us cars. We were living in Edina, Minnesota, where there was a carpeted shopping market. So it was great the way we were treated, but unfortunately, you know, we let a lot of people down. On paper, we looked great with LaFontaine and, you know, the diaper line, Jensen and Olachek, but, you know, we had good moments during that 3-4 months of exhibition, but we didn't play up to our capabilities in the Olympics.
All right, so you turned pro and you head up to Montreal, which is obviously the hotbed of hockey in North America, and you're thrown into a franchise which has a ton of tradition, had really dominated throughout the 70s, and you were able to get another cup in '86, which not many people predicted, but what was that first professional experience like? You were living in a fishbowl up there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had no idea. I'd watched Montreal play Chicago when I was growing up in the rivalry in the 70s, late 60s, but I had no idea, like, the pressure, the fans, how critical they were. You make a bad pass, you get booed. You miss a pass, you get booed. So when I did fly into Montreal after the Olympics, I first went to the hotel. They were playing a game, and I'm hearing the crowd boo over the telecasters. I'm going, wow, they're booing Larry Robinson. And times were tough right then. They were a 4th, 5th place team, you know, fighting to make the playoffs. And I go, man, I'm in trouble here. This is going to be tough. But again, you know, things couldn't have gone better for me. They were looking for young help. I came in there, and we made a great run in that playoffs. And it's like everything was forgotten. Then the next year, that's when Patrick Roy came in, Richer, Lemieux, McPhee, Skrulin, and then, like you said, we won the cup. And I got lucky, boy. Timing's everything, and I came in at the right time.
But you said that you'd never experienced living anywhere where anywhere you went, someone knew who you were. Did that open your eyes to what celebrity is all about?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been treated like that. I mean, I guess Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, you're like treated like a pro player, and, you know, everybody was great to me there for 2 years. And, you know, being in Madison, Wisconsin, you know, there was great hockey tradition there, but you could go around unnoticed in town. But when you were winning, and I always said this in Montreal or the major cities, Detroit, not so much, because you could blend in, and it's, you know, even as much as hockey's loved, it's just you're not under the microscope like you are in Canada. In Montreal, you know, when you're winning, great. When you're losing, nowhere to hide.
All right, so I love the story that's in the book about where Chris was when he heard the news that he was going from Montreal to Chicago. Tell us that one.
Oh man, you bring that one
It's
up.
in the
I got
book. Come on.
Yeah, but yeah, I was at a golf tournament with my good friend Gary Suter, and we did everything right. We took a cab, went to a friend, a guy who played hockey, Lundin for Wisconsin, and then I went out in the alley to go to the bathroom, and I was right next to a plainclothes cop, and the next thing you know, we're having words, and me and Gary end up getting in issues with them, and I'm in jail. And the next day when they called me, search savard, meaning I thought he was calling me because of the trouble I got, and he'd call me to tell me I was traded, and it had nothing to do with the trouble I'd gotten in. But anyway, again, it could have been a disaster, and I ended up going home to Chicago. It was probably one of the best things that could ever happen.
Yeah, there are a ton of great stories like that. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus. People dig that stuff, though. They want the insight.
It's like Stan McKee and me have the same thing in common. We got to go. It's just, that's the way it is.
But you do end up back in your hometown.
Yeah.
And there's pressure that's associated with that, but the thrill of just going into Chicago Stadium and being a member of the Blackhawks, what was that like?
I mean, I thrived on it. To me, it wasn't pressure. It was fun. And the day I walked into the old stadium as a kid, that's all I could think about when I was putting that jersey on and coming in for my first game. I think I had the Gordie Howe, goal, fight, and assist my first game. And you just got excited in that building. I'm sure you'd been there before. It's probably like the old Olympia. But to be playing in my hometown, not too many guys have the luxury of doing that. And I loved it. I was like going into the Coliseum and you were one of the gladiators. So, and that building intimidated all the opposing teams.
Yeah, I'm going to fast forward because obviously we're in Detroit and people want to hear about your Detroit career. You didn't win as you would have wanted to win in Chicago. Okay. When did you get an indication that during that '99 season you might be moved, A, and B, that it might be here?
No, it never came. Detroit never came into the mix till the last team. And I got the call from my agent, says, "What do you think about Detroit? I know you hate them, and you said you'd never go there." I go, "I'm in." I said, it was another chance to win. The team was obviously unbelievable with the players they had on there and the success, prior to that. So, fortunate enough, like I said, two other guys who were just as much hated as I was Wendell Clark and Ulf Samuelsson. So it made it a lot easier to walk into the room, but comical at times, some of the looks I got that day. But it could have been a disaster. The people, the fans, the players, and Scotty Bowman put me in a position not to fail, which was great.
You've always exuded confidence to me. Anytime I see you on the ice, in the locker room, you've been in that leadership position. But there were some, it seemed, humbling moments when you did walk into that Red Wings locker room.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was intimidated more, playing with Izzy than I was playing against him. But it was his room. And the minute you walked in that, you knew it was his room. And he was fair. He knew when to say something. He didn't say a lot, but when he did, you took it to heart. And the team, it was Scotty's team, but it was Steve's dressing room. And the fact that the success that they had, players, you couldn't help but listen to them and respect what they had to say.
You win as a team. They win in '97, '98. You didn't get a chance to win one here until '02. Yeah. And that had to be the most fun you ever had on a rink.
Yeah, I mean, winning championships, they ask which one was better, Montreal, Detroit. Just different times in my life. Montreal was, young, single, wild, 3-4 hours on St. Catherine Street, and exactly what it should have been. But then, 17 years later, winning it with Detroit, being older, a veteran team, having kids that were old enough to understand what was going on, two sons that played, two different, eras, but like I said, it was a relief, I came here and they'd won 2 cups. I go, I better, hopefully win a cup so that at least they'll accept me as part of this family.
That makes sense. But you watch NHL All-Star games and they're brutal. And that's the only time you really get a chance to see the best of the best on the ice at the same time. I think that '02 team is the closest thing you'll ever see to an All-Star game that's played at 100%. Did it feel that way when you were on the ice, that these are the best players in the world that I'm here with every day?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I mentioned it to people, when I did get traded, you coming off that bus, it was like a rock band that was coming off the bus, and you had so many followers, all over the country. We had fans everywhere. We sold out every building. And then, like you said, you look in the dressing room. I don't know how many Hall of Famers they mentioned. There was 10 or 11 potential Hall of Famers. It was amazing, and it would have been a big disappointment losing to Vancouver in that first round, the biggest probably letdown in my career. But fortunately, we came back and then went on to win the cup.
Let's focus in on that, because that's always talked about when you dropped the first 2 games in '02.
Yeah.
What was that moment like, and who stepped up? It's Yzerman, right?
Well, yeah, we got to Vancouver and he had one of the greatest speeches, and before the it might have been on the morning skate of the 3rd game, and he had that confidence, and you look at him, he convinced us that we were going to come back in the series and win it, and doggone it, we did. So, like you said, it was like the prediction Messier made when they went to that 6th game, and there was going to be a 7th. And you know, Izzy, like I said, I had captains like Bob Gainey, who he had leaders to teach him. Izzy, you know, he did it on his own. He didn't have that luxury I had when I was, you know, breaking into the league.
So when Mike Babcock comes in here, obviously Scotty retires gloriously after the Stanley Cup here, and then it didn't work out with Dave as the head coach because he'd been the good cop, and that story's been well told. Then you have the lockout, and then Mike Babcock comes. How would you best describe what your relationship was with Mike when you were playing and he was the coach?
Oh, it wasn't a bad relationship, but for sure we didn't see eye to eye when it came to, he was with structure and accountability, and at the time Mike came to the team, you know, I was a role player then. I wasn't one of the marquee guys on the power play, and you know, I fit into a role player, and I had to play like a role player. And you know, having the luxury of such a long leash when I played all those years, it was tough for me to start being systemized, and it's hard. Mike might not think so, but I tried hard to do what he wanted me to do, but my mind wouldn't let me do it on the ice. And I would have been mad at me too if I'd seen him go out there and screwing up the drills, and that's what I did. And you know, trying to do what he was, you know, stick to the systems like most 3rd and 4th line guys are more structured players. You know, that hesitation that I was thinking what I was supposed to be doing was costing me out on the ice. And I just, like I said, I tried, but there was no, you know, like I said, no blowouts with Mike. I have all the respect in the world for him. He's a great coach, and I've never talked back to a coach in my life.
And he did call you the greatest American player of all time.
Nice. Thanks, Babs.
So that's good.
It's all good now.
That's good, right?
At the time, you don't understand what you're going through, especially, like I said, the career I had, but you sit back and look back, and now I get it.
It's a different time now because so many of you who we came to love and came to respect as go-to guys in the dressing room are now still with the organization. Yeah. Chris, Kirk, yourself. What's that vibe like when you know that you're a part of trying to get this team back to a championship level?
I mean, it's great. I'm so fortunate, especially start with Mr. and Mrs. Illich. You know, they get the final call, and for them to allow me to keep, you know, with the organization, and it allows me to not have to move again and raise my family here. And then they just do it right, from Kenny Holland and then Jim Nill at the time, and all the way down to staff and management. And you know, like you said, working with Drapes and Maltz, you know, the loyalty's there. And if you know, I think they see if we were loyal to them, this was our payback. And I really enjoy my time at the rink. I enjoy being with the Detroit Red Wings organization. Very fortunate to, you know, not miss a beat after retiring and just jump right into a front office. I didn't do too well, you know, in the suit under, you know, Kenny, but I think I found my niche in maybe learning how to coach down in Grand Rapids. And, you know, if I was to do something, that's probably where I'd, you know, venture.
Okay, a couple other things I want to ask you about this current team. There's a general perception, perhaps, that some of the most talented guys are held down too long. If you look at how long Jimmy played for the Griffins, or how long Tatar was down there, or some of these other guys who have taken time to come up the ranks. Explain that philosophy, because I know that it is frustrating for people who may think that the best players who can win that night may not necessarily be there for business reasons.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with it just not enough roster spots, and the cap has, you know, the world to do with it. You know, back in the day, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Illich wouldn't even hesitate to sign anyone to make their team a better team. Now, like I said, we've got a kid down there, Anthony Mantha, who's, you know, hopefully going to be a stud. And the only reason why he's not up here is just because of contract and the fact that they can send him down and don't risk losing him in the waiver draft, as you watched us lose Nestersill a couple weeks ago. But it's totally it's the system and how much that's changed. But it doesn't hurt having a coach like Jeff Blashill, who won the Calder Cup 2 years ago. Great coach, developing these kids, you know, basically using the same systems that Mike Babcock uses. So by the time they're done, you know, down in Grand Rapids and ready to make that jump, you know, they're ready.
And do you think that this team can make a significant run in the postseason this year?
Absolutely. I mean, I've said it all along. I've won the Cup on teams that you weren't expected to win it. This team, without a doubt, has the talent, the goaltending, and Jimmy Howard. It's been a health issue, and I've been saying that for the last 2-3 years. You know, we haven't been healthy. We've had 8 to 10 guys out and, you know, starters out at some points of the season. Now we're healthy. Now we're seeing what this team's capable of. These young guys got another year under their belt, and you're seeing what they can do. And you still got two of the greatest players in the world in Datsuk and Zetterberg, along with Cromwell, who's one of the top defensemen in the league.
Right. All right. So we got book signings that are coming up this week around the metro region. What's it like for you to interact with people, and what's the biggest feedback you get?
right now everybody's been so friendly and nice. And the only thing I was concerned about, like someone finally convinced me to write the book just because of the path I took, and then the longevity, obviously, and some of the training. And I wanted to be a PG-13, good for kids, good for adults, some great hockey stories. And so far, like I said, between the Chicago and Michigan market, the signings have been great. You know, the people last night, it was, you know, busy right till the bell, sold a ton of books. But like I said, I think for the most part, not too much controversy. I think, you know, it's been a good reading book for a lot of people, and so far that's the feedback I get.
Yeah, it's a good story with a lot of great, intriguing drama over the course of a career that spanned more than a quarter century, which is amazing when you think about it. It is called Made in America, the story of Chris Chelios, and we certainly appreciate you coming here, and I hope you sell a ton of books. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Good stuff.